Okay, for the past few weeks, we've been doing deep dives. We've been discussing a lot of different aspects of this game. Whatever game you run is primarily what we're talking about. Now, we might be talking about the biggest game out there, which has had over 4 decades. We might be talking about another game, which is a lot like it at a previous edition. We might be talking about one of the very earliest editions of it. But no matter what, we're always talking about tabletop RPGs as our main focus. And the five of us have been doing as much of a work as we can, as much work as we can to bring you guys deeper dives than what most panel streams will. And I want to welcome you here. Thank you for being patient with us. We're almost late. We're almost 20 minutes late. I'm sorry. We're still in the 7 o'clock hour, but I want to tell you thank you so much for showing up for this game. And tonight's topic is one that's really important to me. And if you run games, it should be very important to you. In fact, it's the most important part of your game. Because what we're talking about, my name is Bruce Punch Rock Groin Lombardo, and we're going to talk about low-level gaming. If you want to get to have a great high-level game, your low-level game better be awesome. Your low-level game better be the Chuck Norris of roundhouse kicks. You better have it so well practiced that your players think that this is just second nature to you. You're flexing this cerebral muscle and threading them through challenges and narratives and forcing them to do things they probably don't want to do. But if you want to get good at something, you got to do it over and over and over again. And that is the name of the game. There's experience points, or there's karma, whatever it is that you use to tally up and make your campaigns better by character, by character, by character, either levels or skill increases, whatever it may be. Those initial few games, those initial levels, if you don't have that down to a science, you are in serious danger of never seeing the promised land of organic high-level gaming. And when I say organic high-level gaming, it means that your players have earned it. They've been with you for sessions upon sessions. They have been there for every step of the way. And every time you've given them a serious challenge, they've gotten something out of it, either an ass whipping, experience points, maybe a few magic items or treasure. But they didn't get there habitually just because,
oh, I want to create a character that's 12th level, and I think we should start the campaign off like that. And you better let me play the character that I want to play, because what's in the basic companion book is really not the type of character for me. And you better identify me by my pronouns.
And if you have a player at your table that it doesn't quite jive with you, and it makes the rest of your players not enjoy their time at your table, you have every right to tell that person, I'd like you to be a little more cooperative with the table. Not just me, your other players, you're being selfish. And the reason why I force these things at low levels is because when we start off at 16 or 17 years of age, we don't get to be a CEO. We don't get to be a high-level exec. We get to be a fry flipper. We get to learn how to detassel corn. We have to learn discipline. And if you don't learn discipline, then you never earn the rewards of being half-ass good at something, much less adequate. So with that, I'm going to bring in my panel. I want everybody to give a warm welcome to Kai, Jade, the Cigar DM, and the Baron G-Rock. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you guys for putting up with me for the 4-minute monologue. And I'd like to say, how are you guys doing?
Doing well.
All right.
Within reason.
Hello there.
As
It
well
was
as to be
snowing
expected.
earlier. I cried.
Oh, it's supposed to snow up there tonight, so yeah.
No more fuzzy.
Part of me really wants to cry. I want to welcome our chat here, by the way. Toadman, 1278, thank you for showing up. Thank you, Jade, for giving them greetings. Kyle Costello, hello, sir. Biz Chozo, hey, bud. I'm seeing you in the Discords, getting your team together and letting people know the game you want to play. Indigo Dragon, hello, sir. How are you? Connell Wolf, thank you, sir, for showing up in the chat. Baron G-Rock, Jade, welcome to the stream, everybody. Yes, that. Powerful stuff. Baron G-Rock, thank you. And hello again. All right. So I'm going to start with somebody who has been running a campaign for quite a while. And let me get this arranged because when I booted everybody out, all right, there we go. All right.
Yay, I'm last.
Nope, you're going to be second.
First,
Ah,
I'm starting off with Jade, and then it's going to go around Cigar, to Baron, to Kai, to me.
We're going
And
Witter
it's going to give me a
tonight.
chance to pound some food into my pie hole. But we're going to talk about the benefits and why we feel that the low levels are particularly important. Go on ahead there, Jade.
Okay, so low levels are really important to the beginning of any game, really, for a lot of reasons. One, it sets the fundamentals, especially for new players. It gets them the, how to play aspect of it, without so many abilities that they're just like, well, I've got, 10,000 abilities and feats. What do I do? Those low levels, they're very limited options. And because of their limited options, it gets them learning the game faster. The more choices you add, the more time it takes between turns. So that's one reason why it's very important to start, low level games, and play in low level games for a while until people get used to, what they're doing, how they're doing it. Now that's the mechanics of the system. Low level games also introduce not just the mechanics, but also how to role play. That's a really great time to start up the political intrigue or the interpersonal communications between players and NPCs. Um, so yeah, that's where why I like to start at low levels is it gets the ball rolling in the right direction for me. Cigargia, you're muted, sir.
following you is about as bad as following Kay because you say all the cool things up front, and I look like a jackass in the back. I think early levels are awesome for new players. I think it's awesome for all players, especially if you're sitting at a new table. Now, if you've been playing the game for X amount of years, maybe you want to start at 5, and because you know how the rigmaroles of the system. I think that's a mistake. I think that you should always start at first level, even if you've played for X amount of years, because just because you know how to play and you're assuming the rest of the party knows how to play, you don't know how to play with them. And to get all the kinks out, it takes the first 4 or 5 levels. So you don't have a bunch of wandering cats. No, I want to search this room. No, I want to search this room. Well, shit, we're all dead. Why? Because we did not learn how to work as a group, which are the lessons earlier levels are meant to teach. And who doesn't want to go some goblin bashing? That's kind of fun at low levels, and things like that. That's my pro for starting at first level. Baron.
oh yeah, definitely. The low level monsters don't get enough love, and especially when folks start at like 4th level, 5th level. You skip over a huge amount of monsters from it doesn't matter which system you're looking at, but you skip over a lot of stuff from that area of those low levels. And a lot of times those monsters can be fun, not only for you as the DM, but also for as the players. There's nothing like walking in and having a pudding drop down on you at like 3rd or 4th level. But it's that scare factor. Or you run in, you've got a bunch of low level orcs you've got to clear out because they're terrorizing the hillside. This is the type of stuff where you can literally get a lot of on the player side combat side. You can start getting your synergies going too. This is where you start with all figuring out the synergies, how you're going to work together. And that's the big thing, is if you are able to work together, then once you progress into those mid-tier or even the higher tier levels, you're going to have a well-oiled machine. And that's a huge part of the game. Is if you have that well-oiled machine, it also helps to get over the okay. Especially if you have new players, what are you going to be doing on your turn? So instead of waiting until it comes to that player's turn and they're flipping through the book going, oh my God, 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 what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? They can actually start learning because they have less tools in the toolbox that they know they can start to figure out ahead of time. Okay, he did this. I'm going to do this. It works out for a faster, because we all know in any of the OSR, D&D, even in when you look at like Palladium, Exalted, any of the other systems out there, is the what are you going to do when it's your turn, and trying to think ahead, and being able to on the fly switch it up if you have to, because you know what, combat happens. So that is one of the things why I love low levels, especially with a newer party, newer to the game, is because you can also get them immersed within the story. Kai.
Oh, you asked me the hardest question in the world. Why do I like low level? Yes, I really have problems with it, but I am okay with it. Because while everyone is like, there is a certain part about pushing a bunch of young, foolish, naive individuals out of a bus, have them get screamed at, go, congratulations, you're an adventurer now. Sit them down there and have a bunch of, because, you're playing level 1. You don't know what you're doing. You're an idiot. Congratulations, you graduated from high school. You raised your hand. Now you're an adventurer. Go. And now somebody has to come over there and beat you up for it. And you're probably going to die. Why? Because everything's going to kill you. Everything. And so you leave a few bodies on the ground, and your players learn by eviscerating them with simple traps, and hopefully they learn. Maybe, if you're doing your job right. So you're that low level of time is there to tell you, is you're telling them what they're going to experience, what they're going to expect. If you hit them with every trap in the book, they should know, watch for traps. If you're going to start chopping players in half with battle axes, you're aiming them towards murder. If you're teaching them to political intrigue and assassinations, you're pointing them in that direction. You're setting them through what is in essence the important job of those first 2-3 levels. You're training these poor saps, and you really should just be preparing them for how you're going to abuse them for the rest of the campaign. And they're going to learn or they're going to die. And it's going to be fun, because some players are like, no, this is what I've already pre-programmed myself from level 1 to 20. Well, guess what, son? That campaign ain't going that way. What do you mean? Well, have you been reading the road? Have you been reading the signposts I've been putting out there saying, you ain't fighting an orc horde, but my character's built around orc hordes. We ain't fighting an orc horde. Oh, but that's what not doing that. Well, I built myself around assassinations. We're not playing Assassin's Creed. Oh, did you not read the room? But everybody else is. Did everybody else make assassins? No. Figure out your place now, son, or I'm gonna kill you. You got until second level for you to make a new character, right? Yeah, make a new character or not. Or write it out. You don't know what you're gonna do. Yeah, okay. Like I said, this is the important levels of teaching your players how to act. And maybe if you got good players, veteran players who can grab another player by the collar and say, get in fucking line. Yeah, This is the point when your players shake out the idiots and beat everybody into place. Or we all just kind of sit back and go, no, go ahead, son. Go ahead and do that. Why? We're all going to stand back here and watch. And then watch an explosion of blood and guts and go, that's why we don't do that, everybody. All right. Learning lesson. And, 10% lethal casualties in first, second level. That's accepted. You expect that. So, yeah. That's why I like first level or second level or third level. Third level is when you let off the gas a little bit, but you beat them up a lot.
Guy.
Yes.
When you're getting your group together, you've got them. Say you're running Shadowrun,
Okay.
or some cyberpunk-ish game.
All right.
And they are brand new. What is the usual motivating factor that you use to bind the party together? Is it money? Is it like camaraderie? Are they doing it for like a family? I mean, I'm almost certain you're going to say it's something involved with the story, so I'm going along those aspects, not really a mechanical aspect. I use money to buy stuff. I would think that you're using something else. What would you use in a futuristic cyberpunk game?
Dear God, if I had good players, we would have a plot about, overthrowing, an evil corporation or doing something that's right. But let's be honest, the majority of every group I've ever seen, been around, unless there's a strong player who's not character, player, who's able to browbeat everybody else on the table into being, hey, there's more out there in life. But let's be honest, everybody cares about cash, money, gear. Why? Because you need that. You can work higher morals in, but in the end, what keeps most people going? Cash. And it's a great way, like, especially when they're newbies and they're like, what do we do? Sure, I could hit them with, there's a murderer, there's a serial killer walking through the streets and murdering people, and they just killed somebody you knew, and you should go and stop the evil bug shamans from being able to continue to murder people in the streets. And that would solve everything if you just be good people. And then watch players go, I have no care about that. And then look at their wallets and go, I got 5 credit, I knew yen to my name. Could I earn me some more money? And sure, they're going to be like, yeah, we'll do a good deed. What's the reward? And then you kind of go, but it's a good deed. But we're broke.
Yeah,
and
good deeds only get you so far.
Good deeds don't put food on my table. I can't pay the rent.
The problem with them.
I can't pay the rent with good intentions.
Mike, you can pave the road to hell.
Oh yeah, but I've got a car payment on my 2045 El Camino with an assault cannon on it.
My 2044 Pontiac Fiero with a Vulcan assault mount that makes it only go 8.5 miles per hour uphill.
But I need to pay that off at some point in my future, because otherwise I would have my kneecaps broken by a mobster who gave me the load. But thank you for rescuing my daughter. But yeah, cash please. Cash please. Well, I don't have much. I don't care what you got. Hand it over. Okay, but I thought you were good guys. This is Shadowrun. We're not good guys. I don't know what you're talking about. Or like, we're playing Cyberpunk. There's absolutely no morals whatsoever. I'm good, but I'm broke. How many organs do you have that are original? What's your blood type? Are you healthy? Yeah. Congratulations. Grab. And
I
then,
think I've seen that movie before. Jude Law, Repo Man.
Yeah.
You wake up in a bathtub full of packed ice. You know.
Oh no! I've had a player who literally played a character whose entire job was, if you don't pay him, he was going to literally just sell your entire body as organs. He wasn't going to leave you alive. He's sitting here going, "You got some pretty good cyberware on you, son, and your organs are still good." Yeah, pay the bill.
So wait, you're telling me that the first few games of your cyberpunk or cyber fantasy movie that you're going to run for your players is going to pretty much mirror the two movies of Repo, the Genetic Opera and Repo Men with Jude Law?
Pretty much, because I have tried running good campaigns where we have morals and a plot line and stories, and usually it just degenerates down into Giant Mnemonic and Repo Men. The genetic and
No, Parrothead's comment right there.
he's like a
And you suck a bowling ball through a 3-mile garden hose.
Look, when a player describes his personal,
If I can do anything, hey Fitzchozo, take care, buddy.
no, but when a player literally describes his personal shack where he has a button he hits and then like metal shutters drop everywhere, the lights turn off, and it goes into dark vision, into like low light combat vision area, and he just comes out there with a chainsaw. Yeah, these are the kind of people I'm used to running with, and I don't like it, but it doesn't matter what group I've been with. This is the standard, and I just realized I have to introduce plot line in story, which I really do care about, covertly. I have to sneak it in the dark. Let them placate their early murder hobo-ness, and then make them go, "Oh wait, there's more to life than money." Yes, okay, and even if it means they knock over somebody and then they get beaten up for it, well, now you got a plot line. But at first, it's cash. It's cash. It's always cash. It doesn't matter if it's go down into the basement, beat up some rats, or get eaten by rats, and I pay you. Short of
Toll us much?
right,
Bard's Tale?
right, or it's like unless you go with we are all farmers, we don't have levels, and we're just sitting here, and none of us have made characters really, and all we're doing is hoeing the ground. And then suddenly, that's when the Fire Nation attacked. That's literally the only thing you got to go with the. Well, now we have a plot line because we were all low level 0, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 in every stat, and the GM is going to run us through level 0 campaigning. Everybody is coming. Like, if you're level 1, congratulations. You got a class. You've done something. You got debts. You got money.
So I have gone from running Shadowrun or Cyberpunk to doing DCC or MCC.
Look, I could do this in almost every damn campaign. Every campaign, whatever engine you run with, unless you're running, by God, Traveler or Twilight 2000 or something with Life Pass, something where you're not. If you got levels or a starter character, you've got some background. But if you're sorry, everybody have the same thing. You're all 18 years old. You all graduated high school, or you graduated as being at Farmer Tech, and you all and here's your 10 gold pieces of starter equipment. Yeah. Here's your shitty sword. Here's your shitty armor. Here's your shitty weapons. Here's your shitty spell book. Here's your shitty everything. You're ready to go out there with your backpack of standard issue garbage, and you're ready to go adventure. Man, are you ready with your 12 gold? Yeah, let's go adventuring. And it's like, if anyone's seen Goblin Slayer Abridged, episode 1, this is the adventuring party you usually get. What do you got? I spent all my money on a sword. Yeah, Doombringer. Boom. Why did you betray me, Doombringer? And yeah,
I don't know what to say because I've never watched the abridged version of Goblin Slayer. I've always watched the proper version of Goblin Slayer.
it's funny.
Now I have to locate 18 hours to watch season 1 in the movie for Goblin Slayer abridged. because this sounds like it'd be a fun time.
It's hilarious. It's the show, but better. So
See, even if you start 0 level, I'd still have the players roll the stats because not everyone is created equal.
look,
Even in gaming, I mean, you got your jocks versus your intelligent people. Then you just got dumbasses, or you got your charisma. Hey, I'm a theater major in high school. Well, you're in high school. Yeah, I did theater, so I guess you get extra points in charisma and low points in everything else.
now if you do what some of my players have done, and I utterly love and hate them for this, they do something very similar to they assume they look at the bell curve and go, we don't want anybody at the bottom of the bell curve. We don't want anybody in the middle of the bell curve. We want everybody at the high end of the bell curve. And they figured out, like, okay, so we set up a series of tests. We can filter out all the 10s, 12s, 13s, and everyone below that. And we're looking for 2 to 3 high-level stats. And we're looking for 5 to 10% of the population. So we'll create a series of physical and mental tests to test every single stat. And we'll literally drum out 90% of the population. And they'll sit back and just run these tests and be like, what are you doing? ASVABs and physical fitness tests. Congratulations. And suddenly they're like, wait, what did you just do? We're just training everybody. Literally, we're just doing this. And now it's like,
take your recruits to the confidence course and make them cry.
right. And
the wind and the snow are coming down as hard as possible. And don't forget to get a -4 on their balance or acrobatic checks once the rime starts to accumulate on the wood.
right. And then watch players just and like we're sorry. You cannot reliably make a DC 12 check. So you're not going to make it, son. Out. We're sorry. You can't count past 10. You're out. And you just work this grid. And suddenly you have now suddenly you can explain stat arrays. Wait, why does everyone get a stat array? Because we literally just ran everybody through a series of tests and training, and now we can filter out all the garbage. But I want to roll. I want to have an intelligence 4 character. We're sorry, you can't say your name. Out. You're out. And suddenly it's like players like, wait, so now you can justify? Yeah, I can justify doing or anything at this point because I can literally filter out the bottom 80%. I don't want any of them. What? But I want to be an adventurer. No, you're a store clerk. That's your job. But
I don't want to filter out the characters. I know you do.
I do.
But I like the 0 to hero games where like you're not certain if they're going to come back from the Sunless Citadel, even though they have 8 player characters and 3 tag-alongs that can carry the loot and 1 donkey. For reasons. I think it's very important that you make it very difficult for them. You don't make it a statistical impossibility. I mean, even those garbage 3.0, the first adventure path, was possible with just a +1 in all stats. You wouldn't get very far down that campaign line. By the time you were at Dreams and Speaker and Dreams, the level 5 adventure, you were topping out your characters. You weren't able to get spells for 3rd level. You weren't able to get things necessary, but you were able to have fun with the character. Now, Jade used to argue with me, you want to have your characters be able to roll a 15 plus on a 12 or better. You want to arrange and min-max your character this way. We argued about this once. I remember during Ptolus, we discussed this because the campaign was kind of ramped up a bit, but it was easy to overcome, but there was just a lot of opposition. And he was trying to say things like the game is designed for 4 encounters of a certain encounter level, then you have rests. You want to have, a boss level fight to where you have to roll 15 plus. So you maximize everything you can to get it to where it's a 12 or 11 on the die or better. And so we we disagreed on that, but we won't even talk about the Radiant Citadel just yet. But it was one of those things where we discussed the theory crafting behind third edition, because that was a game at the time, and it hasn't really changed a whole lot since then. You have different focuses for character classes now. You have the bards and a bunch of other classes that aren't the standard 4 that I feel are most important. Now, Kai would probably look at a game and he'd get excited because, like, oh my god, they're allowing warlocks and tiefling bards in. They're allowing these non-standard things in that people might actually want to play, and that's good. Whereas I'm of the mindset, like, you don't have tieflings running around in this world. If somebody's got curving ram's horns coming out of their fucking temple, probably one of the butchers in town is just going to make sure that child suffers an accident, and they won't find out what happened to him. They're not going to feed him to the people, but he's probably going to be used to bait some javelinas or something, or roaming pigs. I know that sounds really bad, but that's probably how it would happen in the campaign world I run, because they don't really tolerate things like, oh, you're part demon? That's cool. We're fighting Sathothaga or Orcus here. No, not going to happen. But in these games where you have these challenges, and these statistical challenges are the way that you measure up. So Kai is hitting it on the nail, even though he's taken the nail and he's driven it completely through the board he was going for. I want to ask Jade, when you are getting your players ready for the game, what are the roadblocks that you put up to try to deter conversation or player actions to go down certain choices or certain paths, be it character creation or for just narrative reasons, just for, like, I don't really think you guys want to go investigate the creepy old man at the end of this block. How do you usually do that?
So I do a build up to the game. Like before the game even gets rolling, I lay out kind of a hey, here's what the game is roughly about. I'm not going to give them plot points. I'm not going to give them, here's how the story goes, because they're making the story as they go. But I'm going to say, hey, here's the general feel of the campaign. Here's the general idea that I want to go with and the path I want to take. And then I start saying, like, I've actually done this for Wrath of the Righteous. I'm like, these classes are out. Don't ask. Don't even bother thinking about them. They're just completely out. Why? Because they are not thematically appropriate. So I start setting a theme of the game first. And then I say, okay, you can build anything that is not on this list or, from this book. I'll cut out entire books that are, the extra books, especially if they don't belong thematically to the game. So that's step one for me. I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but that's fine.
Why would you think you'd get a lot of hate for that?
Because
you're curating your game and trying to help the narrative. You're trying to establish a certain narrative for your table. It's
Sure.
not a nationwide table. It's something to bring it to where it's more localized, and it's only going to matter to this 8 or less people that are gathered in person or on the web at your presence, right?
That's the point I'm driving to. Is, I am going to get a lot of hate for this because I have gotten a lot of hate from this by players at my own table of, well, I really want to play this. Well, that's not thematically appropriate. And I'll keep it saying that, if it's not thematically appropriate, it shouldn't belong. However, if you're going to defy me and go that route, you're going to find your character either dead, in short order, B, in service to the enemy because they've got the better toys, and then they'll become an NPC, and you won't be playing that character anymore. Or, option C, or the third option is, I will make the game miserable for you because you won't actually be able to get to do what you want because I told you from the beginning that that's not where the game was heading. So that's how I curb that. Is I present the material up front in a collated list or even like a PDF package of, hey, here's everything I allow. Like I do hours and hours of pre-gaming for most of my games. the Cigar GM has actually seen this. I presented a list and said, hey, don't play anything on this list. Just don't even ask. So that's step one. Step two is once I have the players at the table, I will present the rolling mechanics or the stat mechanics. Now, I like bell curves. I like math. So I have done in the past 30 D6, drop lowest 12, rearrange however you want for stats. I have done that. It's generally a higher power game feel for that. But I've also run the 0 level campaigns where I'm like, okay, you get 2d6 plus 6 as your stats, minimum 8, maximum 18, before any other nonsense or shenanigans. But I like my 0 level games because then they get a feel for what the game's going to be, where they're heading and where they're starting at. And it helps build camaraderie among the village people that they are at that point in time. They might be a farmer, they might be a butcher, they might be a blacksmith. They can then take from those backgrounds going forward. It's like, well, the blacksmith is going to be really strong, so I might give additional bonuses to these professions or backgrounds. And I'm not even talking like 5e or Pathfinder 2e. I'm talking like 3.5 is when I did this. Yeah, YMCA. So you've got all these, different individuals who are part of this village, and the first mission that I send them on is typically something horrible has happened to a someone or something. We need members of the local village, to go find out what happened. Why? Because the local constabulary is the next town over. It's that small of a village. Sorry, reading the comments here. Yeah. But back on the point. Actually, I kind of forgot what the point was. What was your question again?
I think you pretty much hit it.
Okay. Bruce, you're muted.
Yeah, that's okay. His hands are doing the talking.
Yep, you're still muted.
That's okay. We'll pretend that he's talking and go on from there.
Boomer
There he goes.
moment. Fuck.
There he is. There he is. So what was your question again? Just so I can get.
You were talking about how we curate games and how we try to get the players to go down certain choices, be it character creation or once we've got the characters on the wagon, and how we get them to arrive for their first set of events or encounters, however you want to frame it, but the first moments when they will actually be in the limelight itself.
Okay. So I guess my third thing that I do, I've done the pregame, I've done stat generation and character building. The third thing I do is I present hooks and encounters in such a way that are linked to greater things later on for the players to discover. I do like the natural discovery type of play where, you're in an area and things are just happening in the world because things happen in the world. There's a timeline of events. I have a master timeline for my major events. Like this happens at spring, this happens at fall, at midwinter's night, such and such will happen. And as the players are going through, they might, discover some of these major plot things that are happening in the background that will happen with or without them. They might be able to influence said large scale things in either a positive or negative way, depending on what they do. So mostly it's, the plot hooks, the little plot threads laid out, on the map, and they get to go explore and do things with those plot threads, and then they pick up a next plot thread or 10 plot threads that go in different directions. And then they're like, well, what do we do? And when they ask me that, I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? I've given you 10 options. Pick one or 3. So and that's how I kind of guide my players down certain elements or plot threads. Is I give them the options, and they can then from there decide what comes next. And then I take things like Think Deck, and I plot up what's next. I can do it on the fly. I can do it the week before, sometimes 3 weeks before, especially if they're plotting their way to a major story element or a major plot element on my timeline. If I know that's coming, that's already then pre-planned out. I've got most of the encounters, most of the major elements planned, and I've led them to that point in a more natural progression way. And I think that's more rewarding for players than just say, hey, you're going to be on the rails and you're never going to get off the rails. Nobody really likes that kind of play unless they're playing a video game.
I hate railroads. I really do.
Unfortunately, a lot of modules are railroads.
Like
Yeah.
a darkness.
Mm.
Oh, I said that out loud, didn't I? Oh, I'm sorry.
Most modules are rail.
If Paizo wants to start rewriting modules for 5e and re-releasing for 2nd edition, and you want to redo an adventure path, I'm all ears to hear how you would really want a director's cut of the 2nd Darkness adventure path to go. As far as I know, that's still the lowest rated adventure path they've ever produced. It was written before Pathfinder was an actual rule set, and it still consistently scores negative marks because Book 5 and Book 6, even though Book 6 is a quote-unquote a hex crawl, oh yeah, it's a huge choo-choo train. And yeah. Very nice guy. Cigar DM, you're running a campaign that is a railroad in a literal sense, but it is a very fast-paced railroad, and it's really designed with not a lot of time to be spent in between sessions. You're really not given like a whole lot of time to craft your Staff of the Magi or your plate mail +5. You're kind of just shoved onto the train, and that's it. So I got to ask you, what do you do during Rise of the Rune Lords? I want to know what you're doing and how you're able to curate it and keep your players kind of narratively interested in just jumping on the coach and letting the rails dictate their lifestyle.
I will put. I mean, what was it? Paizo put out a series of short little novels that are wrapped around their world. Some of them, like one set of them had to do with the Rune Lords, I believe. And what I'll do is I'll add little pieces from the Paizo literature into my campaign. That's not like each of the Rune Lords had their own tome.
Sin. They had their own sin they represented.
Yeah, and each one of them have their own tome that if you come across it, and you feel a will check, you start to take symptoms from the tome. If it's gluttony, you keep eating and eating. If it's sloth, all you want to do is lay about and just put these scenarios in front of the characters. Is like, if we're not careful, bad shit will happen to us, because that book is all about bad shit happening to somebody. And yeah, there's a railroad aspect to it, but it's like here recently. They're doing we talked about already about Mama's house, when they have to go deal with Mama and her inbreed children. That's not on the set railroad tracks. That is if a player makes a perception check of, I think it was 25 or higher, they hear a cat, a large cat, make a noise. Now it's up to the players if they wish to investigate what that noise came from, or if they want to continue forwards to Fort Runneck or something like that. So I will, I'll let them basically decide what they want to do. There is no downtime. There really is no. So if a player is in a major metropolis because they're in Magmar the Magmar was the biggest city is at, and they need stuff because there is no downtime. And these are level 8 players now. Level 8 or 9. I will.
So they went from the farmhouse, and now Sandpoint's getting attacked.
Yeah, they haven't got
basically
there.
how that campaign plays out. You get out of the farmhouse, you've got your experience points and your new feats, and you've magically got your new spell ready that you never had to memorize or sleep for, and you walk back to town expecting to see the sheriff. And
Actually, I don't allow that. If you level, you actually for the spell. This is what I do in my campaign. If you just level, it'll take you a full night's rest before you get access to the new spell.
Okay. They didn't really have a clear set of directives in the play test for this whenever we were running it, and the hardcover for Pathfinder came out for us long after we finished that campaign.
Yeah. No, I've seen the original mod and an anniversary mod. It's the same game, but 2 different variations on the same creature.
Hetty Lamar, you have a great night, and thank you for stopping by.
So I'll add things or I'll take things out to keep my players interested,
Yeah.
Instead of it, in the very beginning, I was joking around with somebody, instead of using the goblins that raid the town, maybe I should have used cannibal halflings or gnomes.
Boy, Max would love to hear about your tale of how you're using cannibal halflings. Although there would be a lot of people that would just come in and be like, I had those in my Dark Sun game. And then we'd be derailed because we'd be talking about at the time we died of thirst or starvation. But anyway, Baron, when you're playing in a low level game, I don't know when the last time was. When was the last time you ran?
We run off and on. We run off and on. Usually when I'm doing like a Pathfinder OSR type, I kind of look at that same kind of bell curve like Jade was talking about, except I do it a little bit different. I usually do 1d6 plus 11. That gives you an average of about 14, typically 13, 14. And
You are the children of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jane Mansfield. Enjoy your life and well-being.
Well, I mean, truthfully, even if they roll, and they don't get a re-roll with it. So if they roll a 1, they got a 12, period. So yeah, and truthfully, I've been that's something that I've been doing because I used to do a whole big thing of you roll 4d6, re-roll all 1s. If you roll all 1s on the first one, it's an automatic 18. If you roll all 6s on that first roll of that, it's an automatic 19. No, I'm just going to simplify it. 1d6 plus 11, period. So even the highest you're going to get is a 17. But by the time you throw your racials in, which is like usually a +1, sometimes a +2, it is you're still looking at an 18, which is what some people will roll anyway. The other thing that I do is I won't necessarily say that classes are outlawed, so to speak, but I'll say, okay, the only book you're allowed to pull things from are these books. These are the only books you're allowed to use. And if you're the 3-5, the one book that was never allowed to be used, except for maybe one feat if I was feeling generous to the monk, is the Book of Nine Swords. And that book just gets set off to the side. Nope.
I've never even seen that book.
Oh, it's a horrid
really
book.
not that great of a book. There's some neat ideas, and it was the test bed for 4th edition.
Yeah, it was. Yep. It was a test bed for 4th edition. The only one I like is the what was that one for the monk? The improved unarmed strike, where it ups it a die level or something like that, basically. So I mean that's the only thing that I even look at out of it. But it's you set the expectation, because once you set the expectation for the players, they have an idea of what they're going to get into. And as a player, I do like the everyone's like, oh well, this is the best thing. No, it wasn't. It was the worst and last book they put out for 3.5. They could not have ended it any worse.
Actually, the last book they made was the Rules Compendium, Garrett.
Well, the last book that mattered was
No, the last book that mattered was the Rules Compendium.
This
That
is
was
true.
even after Book of Nine Swords. And in my opinion, they ended it the right way because there were so many revisions up to that point, so many different printings, and we have to respell this, we have to refabricate this. And they put out the book that had all the rules from the start of 3.5 to the end. And I thought it was great.
It was the Rule Companion was the last book because I had that thrown at me by a former DM person we used to hang out with.
Yeah, it's actually a decent book. It goes over everything. Indigo Dragon will fight you to the death on Book of Nine Swords, Garrett.
Well, it's okay because he's playing it wrong.
Wow.
Oh,
He's not even in a chat room and we're already,
Shadow and Sun's out there. He's painting game for John Carter campaign, it looks like. Parrothead's like, when you're chewing on life's gristle, don't grumble, give a whistle.
But no, and as a player, I like a DM who is open. If you make a comment about something, they sometimes if you give a DM and just an off the wall comment, even if it's not in character, the DM may run with it.
Oh yeah.
This has
happened.
definitely happened in our Exalted game more than once because I've made just an off the wall comment, and God love Todd. I know he was in. I think he's still in the chat. He'll say, excellent. We shall run with this and see what happens. I tend to like those type of games where it is more of off the top of the GM's head. That's how I tend to run too. I will run it off the top of my head. For instance, I was running a Pathfinder 2 just to kind of test it out, see how it was playing, and I was running a module. I hated how the module was set up. I hated how I almost killed the entire party in the first encounter with a fire method indoors because it had full rules for smoke inhalation, everything else. So I literally almost killed the entire party.
Sounds like
So
a
at that
very well designed encounter. I know you have complaints about how the system is set up, and you almost need a digital aid to run it proper. But it sounds like a very well designed encounter.
It is a well-designed encounter, but if you're thinking about it's a town hall. A town hall is going to have windows. A town, truthfully, if there's a fire that's going that hot and that's producing that much smoke, it's going to, hey, I will love my delusions of grandeur. They're so pretty.
He does.
They're so pretty. Okay. But the thing is that they even say that there's windows, stuff like that. If you look at for what it is, the parts that are holding the windows would have melted because basically it's lead holding the windows in. A fire that's going that well is going to make air holes. So I mean,
break first, and then the lead would melt.
Exactly. So it's one of those things. It's kind of like, but I went ahead and I took I think I've mentioned this before. It was a 50-50 shot on the color of gem they found. And they found a blue gem, so they wound up going to the Fey courts, and they went to Nab's court where they met her knight, the winter knight. He was dressed in a duster. He had a hockey stick in hand, and him and the gnome actually had a really good conversation about magic because they were both magic users. How he would have how the gnome could cast without saying a word, and the knight could only cast by saying words. And yes, those of you that are following this, I pulled Dresden in. why? Because it was I love pulling stuff out of books and tropes like that. I really do enjoy, because that
You're
that
just a big
also.
fan of Jim Butcher. There's no shame in this.
Well, Jim Butcher, Larry Carrera, that Monster Hunter International, I love. Uh, there's a bunch of other books. I can't remember who writes it, but Bubba the Monster Hunter. It's kind of one of those kind of obscure type things. He's a good old boy that hunts monsters for the church, and it works. And pulling different aspects of stuff from these books, you can actually, you're not chained to the settings that are in front of you. You can make up your own setting. If you want to pull in,
you're supposed to run from Forgotten Realms 1376.
no, Planescape.
Oh hell.
But yeah, that is. I tried it at home. But yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, most of all, that's what I tend to pull things and do run things off the top of my head, because I find that it is, I have a this is where they're starting, this is where they're ending. I have those parts in my brain set out. It's just the meandering to get from point A to point B that I run completely off the top of my head.
Out, you pretty much you know your starting position. You know that it's going to be at town hall or the local pub, and wherever you're going from that point, you're going to kind of sculpt the campaign, and you're going to grift it or sculpt it around just kind of moments that define your evening that you have with the players, right?
Yeah, they may even go to the strippers guild for a little bit and have some fun.
Around every police crime drama film that's worth its salt will always invariably end up at the local strip joint. So for those of you that say this has no merit, hold on, we're following established procedure in good fiction. We already have this established. We need these strippers. They are going to help point us in the right direction with an erection.
Yeah, just remember the lap dance is always better when the stripper's crying, and that just definitely remember that. And now at that point, that's how I'm going to end this and pass it off to Kai.
Kai,
What? What?
all right, Kai.
How do I follow that?
I'm not going to tap you for that quite yet, Kai. What I'm going to tap you on is you've got your players,
Right.
and they have their character concepts available.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how you help them get a concept that for you is world ready. Your decision, not based on a campaign you bought or a book you read. This is yours. And you could even run with the system of choice that you have, be it either Shadowrun or Hero System or whatever it is. How do you, because you're a pretty detailed thinker when it comes to your games, and being that your job is spent being away from everybody else, I can only imagine that you're there making post-it notes or verbal notes on your phone of how you're going to get your campaign ready over the course of a 40-hour, maybe 70-hour work week, because that's what you do.
Okay, I'm gonna put this on the camera and give an idea. Okay, so I have this actually on a big fold-out map that's hanging somewhere else. But so this little world here, you can see all these little silver dots on it. This is the actual world that I run on, that I actually custom made, painted, so that way I can actually figure out travel times with a string. Every one of these little silver dots you see there is a city that's got places that you could be from. And so therefore, there's a handout that I hand out to players with town names, cultures, populations, and then go, everything's available You know that. Pick your hometown, pick your home language, pick your home culture. I'll find a way to throw you all together. Trust me about that. You'll all be together. But you came from somewhere. You came from just like so. Where are you from, boy? I'm from I'm from Memphis. Where are you from? Chicago. Where are you from? New York. Where are you from? Some small town in the middle of nowhere in Ohio. Because everyone's within range of Ohio. And so unlike everybody else is like, well, I have books, but no, everything's available because you're going to get hit with everything in the book. So go ahead, pick the culture, pick the town, pick where you're going to be from. Pick can I be anything? Yes, you can. Except for race. That's picked by what town you're from, because that's your cultural. That's where you're from. Well, can I be a tiefling? There's one place where tieflings are at, and they're hunted for what? For being birth defects. What do you mean? There's an entire plot line behind that, and I'm going to murder you. And you survived, and your elven parents are out to kill you. For what? For not being aborted. Oh. Yeah, don't play a tiefling. But don't play a tiefling. Can I be a don't play that. You can, just realize everyone's out to murder you. Can I play this class? Sure you can. And they're out to kill you. Who's out to kill me? The police. The police? Sorry, the mage hunting police who are there to murder anybody who's a rogue spellcaster. But I'm a rogue spellcaster. You better hide your spellcasting. But I want to be a spellcaster. Follow the rules. What rules? Here's the rules. Read the manual. But I want to be a sorcerer. Here's the sorcerer manual. Read that. But what if I get out of line? I'll stab you. My character? No, you. You can't. I'll murder you. Don't worry. They won't find the body. Oh. And they seem to enjoy that. And, well, it's this fun little thing. And players kind of go, oh, because suddenly the world actually makes sense. It hurts. Because you can be whatever you want, just you got to be able to survive. That's all. And I encourage them. But I want to go over here. And, everyone goes to the big city at some point in life, and they all get to go, the world is much bigger than me. Sure is. I want to be part of it. Good. I want you to be part of it. But I don't want to die. Then don't die. But dying's easy. Everyone dies. You just got to choose when. Oh. Mm-hmm. So, go ahead. What are you playing? Oh. Okay. Don't worry. If you're smart, you won't die. But I'm not smart. You'll learn. Good luck.
Wow.
So, my thing that I like to do, I like blank sheets of paper, either blank, completely blank, or gaming paper sells hex grids. Bruce is a fan of the hex crawl. The hex crawl is your friend. When I'm first starting the game, I like to at least show a map, be it the interior of your room or the inn where you do all your deals. Then I like to maybe sketch out the town a little bit and show off the areas where the players are intimately familiar, because most of the time I like to play kind of like the way I lived, the way I grew up. I started in a 300-person town, Latham, Illinois, miserable place. And it made me want to desire to enjoy a life outside of it. But I have a town that's set up. I've got a few trade routes, a few people in these little nearby communities or settlements. And that's where the party is gathered from. Everybody kind of knows each other. There might be an elf in the party. Usually there's an elf in the party. They know everybody's grandparents. And they kind of get shit from everybody in their elven communities like, why are you hanging out with a bunch of human children? Do you not understand? You will not be allowed in certain restaurants in your home glade once again. You're going to need to wait a few decades before we can be sure you're not mentally unstable. So just to lay that out there, elves that hang out with human adventuring parties are not exactly looked at pretty well with my campaign. Elves do exist, and they do interact with other people, but when you go to their community, you are given a room or a inn very close to the gate, and you're not allowed to go past that. You don't get to do that. Even if you're an elf from out of town, you're an outsider. You don't go past that. Dwarves are almost the same way, but you at least get a chance to go to a bar where the adventurous ones will go and hang out with you. Because they want to hear about the overworld. They want to hear about the things that you're doing, and they want to know about the stonework that's available elsewhere. They want to know about the things that pertain to them, like what type of beer is there. There's no better beer than this malt. And they do that. But when I'm building my campaign, my first game is usually just a get involved with the map and do some light touches. Maybe you'll go from point A to point B, and when you get to point B, there will be a complication. Or maybe you'll bump into a group of pilgrims, and there might be a complication from that. Because maybe one of the pilgrims is a demon-infested person that's leading you into a forest and going to sacrifice you at the altar of Baal. I don't know. But it might be something along those lines. And the first night of the campaign, the first time I get a chance to be a DM for this group, I don't want to have my kid gloves on. Anytime I have kid gloves on, I'm probably not enjoying myself as I should. So I want to make sure I show them that there's a narrative at play. I want to show them there's ways for them to make money as a character. And I want to show them the world that they already know as a character. And I'm trying to impart to them that at the edges of the places they know are dark and really possibly very scary. Because in the Middle Ages, that's how it would be. You know the 12 miles around where you grew up. You don't know much more. And you definitely don't want to go into areas with strangers that you wouldn't trust while you sleep. That would be the atypical first night. But once they get through that first night, things get a little smoother. They get to know people at these settlements or towns where they're guarding a caravan. And maybe they'll make it to second level before the end of the season. Maybe. They've got to go back to their hometown, or they got to go to one of the guild points or one of the merchant affiliates to train, though. Because I don't just allow people to level up and have just, it was one night of rest and now you're a new level. No. You need at least a week. You need to go experiment. You need to go find a mentor and make sure you're doing something right. At the very least, up until about 12th level, by then you're doing self-study. And you need about a month. A month of self-study. Wizards, I'm going to craft a spell. I want to write this in my book. Okay, for the next 2 weeks, you discover disintegrate. Not an easy spell. Has a very nice rounding effect. Either 5 dice 6 of a successful save or 2 dice 6 per level. That sort of thing. But anyway, on a low-level game, by the time the players are third level, they're getting to have renown within their circles. So they're getting, if it's a war campaign, if you're like third level in a game with me and this has been a war campaign, you're probably at a level of like a sergeant or at least a corporal, or if you are quote unquote an officer or a noble, you're probably getting to the point where you're leading 70 to 100 people at a time and making decisions that your family was breeding you for this specific individual time. You had a purpose. You might not enjoy what's going on, by the way. You probably won't enjoy what's going on, by the way. Nobody enjoys having 70 elven arrows sent into your camp in the middle of the night. Damn that moonlight. Anyway, but by third level, you've played in my game about 6 to 12 times. And I'm the DM that Kai hates because you don't have a lot of resources. You don't have all the things you need. And you're being forced to improvise, consistently improvising. And then you'll hit a cachet or you'll hit a treasure run where you're going to be wealthy beyond measure for at least 30 minutes. And then you have to divvy it up. And you've got 40 pounds of resources now in your backpack, and you're trying to use this potato sack to haul the stuff and get it to the cart. It's never enough. But I want my players to struggle. I want my players to really appreciate when they do have those moments where they have an ability to make a few dreams come true. I can get armor. I can get a magical shield. I can pay for training. I can get an add-on to my wizard's laboratory. Things like that. And in the early levels of the game, those things are just pipe dreams. So I'm throwing that out there because while the players are third level, they should have an idea of what they want in a few levels or how they want this character to proceed. You're not going to get a character that's going to follow your spreadsheet all the way, but you are going to have a character that you're going to find fun to play. And I think as a DM, you really need to help the players along that. You need to help them sculpt a narrative path to where they are actually enjoying themselves. I don't have Kai telling me that I'm making him copper to death.
I will fight now. I don't mind being poor, but if you steal what little I've got, I'm going to be very angry. So I don't mind being poor, but let me have my rags. But if you steal my rags, I'm going to burn down everything that stole that. Because if I'm poor and you steal from a poor person, vendetta for life. Either I die or the other person dies. And I'm going to make sure that I ruin everything that they have. I will murder them, their wife, their children, their dog. I will burn down their compound. I will kill their friends because they stole from a poor person. So if you give me my first, if I'm a dirty little hobo, I'm like, I need something, and you give me 12 gold pieces, and then you steal 10, I'm going to murder whoever stole that. And if that means ultimately the campaign becomes derailed, and it ends with me overthrowing a tyrannical government and killing the IRS in the process, I'll do it. And that will become the new plot line. And I don't care whatever noble virtue. If there's somebody who stole my shit between me and getting my shit back and getting revenge on them. So yes, feel free to keep me poor. I'll manage. Just don't take my stuff.
Well, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate your mentality on that because that sounds like a really good campaign for those of you that want to play Underground, the 1993 RPG, where taxation was theft. And I think it's a very important thing we all need to remember. Don't let them take your stuff.
Wait, taxation's not stealing?
Taxation is theft.
It is.
Taxation is theft.
Oh no.
Jade?
Murder as an in-character murder. I won't murder the GM. That's no fun. I understand. I separate story from character, but listen, in character, a lot of people are going to be on fire before this is over. But all I did was stole your shirt. I'm sorry.
So what I'm hearing is, if you're a DM for Kai, and you fuck him on a couple of coppers or silvers, you'll have somebody's hairline in this campaign.
Oh no, hairline no. Overthrow the government, yes. Overthrow capitalism, yes. Overthrow the oligarchies, yes. Until I'm satisfied, or I feel that the state of my honor has been cleansed.
Gotcha.
Hey,
Just curious.
Yes.
One of the greatest dungeons I've ever ran, Rapana Thuck. There's 18 to 20 pages of Pathfinder, probably a little less for 5e, where they detail all of the bandits that are camped outside of the various entrances that will be there ready to steal your stuff, ranging from 40 kobolds to an adult-sized red dragon.
Hey, look, if the entire campaign is I get loot and then I get robbed and then I murder the people who robbed me, that's an okay campaign. I'm okay.
Yeah, I there is the option for have retributive murder and get your stuff back plus the stuff they stole before. There is that possibility.
Oh yeah. Look, if I get my stuff back, everything's okay. But if the longer I can't get my stuff back, a lot of people are dead.
But what if they've already fenced it?
Oh, then you know what? I murder them, and then I murder the people who fenced it, and then you just keep following that like a bad crime drama, like NCIS, but with guns, but where we actually shoot them more, and you just hunt down everybody, and then you just at the end, there's just like this duke who's like, I bought this diamond, hand the diamond over, but I bought it. No, hand it over. It was stolen. It's mine. But I bought it. Stab. No, it's mine. And then I walk off.
Wouldn't it be honorable though if you found the guy who bought the diamond and you also had all the loot from the previous schlup that sold it to him, and you could just give him the schlup his money back?
He could give me, that would be the only option. That's peace. But let's be honest. How many GMs are going to give me peace as an option? Peace was never an option.
I don't know. There was a half PK I ran once, and half the party gave up their magical items so they could walk through a portal and get away from a big blue dragon.
Hey, look, I've been in groups like that, and I'm okay with that. But there's a certain point where I'm like, I am coming back for those items. You know that, right?
Now, mind you, there is a player in that campaign, Magus Draconic Cherub. He is planning to use that tiger druid that he's got in order to murder hobo Mohobo.
Oh yeah,
the big blue dragon. But he's got to wait a few levels. But that's
that's a goal. That's now an aim, a goal, an ambition. You can work with that. You can have fun with that. And I know that when a GM has sent me on that path, and they go, "Oh shit, now it's easy," and now the plot line becomes really easy. All I got to do is just dangle a carrot, a little, and then suddenly I'm like, boom, laser focused. Storyline becomes now focused on that thing, and it's like, oh, you're right. It is like the Punisher. You just got to keep following that one goal, and the GM's like, I had to give you a plot line, and I had this cool plot line. No, the new plot line's this, but there's a kingdom on fire. I know. It's okay.
The Bounty Hunter from Raising Arizona. Wow, that's a movie I haven't thought about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm quiet now.
Really,
sorry,
Chef?
I can't play for that long, but
No.
anyway, that was something I thought would be appropriate.
Yeah. There you go. Are you
One of my
happy?
favorite movies of all time.
You got your loot rant for the week. You can mark it off your bingo card.
I will mark my loot rant off of my Gringo card. Yes,
Good.
my Gringo card is marked.
Good.
I gotta ask, Jade.
Yeah.
Setting up your early levels, your early campaign.
Okay.
You have your players and their goal set up here, and you're trying your best to make sure they have a theme in the campaign. That was something that popped up at the start of this. In the chat, there was a guy named Jordan that was saying, "You guys just plan to plot player characters, you don't even give a theme for the game." Like, oh, hold on, there's more to it. We explained that throughout the character creation, and then you started explaining the theming and how you were setting up everybody to potentially succeed.
Okay.
When you are going through your early levels, do you start to do a reveal of the campaign goals for the very end? Do you hold those cards in reserve, or do you give them, like, every 5 levels you'll be like, here's your new goal, or here's your new campaign goal? Do you do that sort of thing, or do you kind of try to figure out from the start, like, we got to get this guy? Or do you wait till like their 12th level and, like, say Rise of the Rune Lords and say, oh, it's Karzog. Karzog is the one we've been after all this time. How do you do this? How do you set it up?
So actually, it really depends on the game's theme. So I'm going to set the Wayback Machine to like one of the games that I played in and also co-GM'd for. This is way back during my high school days. And the main GM of the group had an idea for where the game was going. I had some plot elements, like some side story plot elements. And he actually is the one who taught me how to kind of do this. So we as the players, we did not know at all where the story was going to go from the beginning. Just no clue whatsoever. It was kind of a game of discovery. And that's a really amazing thing to have, is that discovery aspect of it. But every so many levels, or like during timeline events, which that's why I brought up there are things happening in the world that the players may or may not be aware of, and they're going to happen regardless of whether the players get involved. But so those things are, you hint at those big things, and if the players get involved, they get involved. If they don't, they don't. But that's where they find out things that are happening in the wider world, and that kind of gives your overarching plot. And one of the ones that really rings a bell in my mind is, again, Wayback Machine. We were going along, we had all these felt like unconnected things. Like we were just going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and we just couldn't figure out how they're all connected. Finally, we come across this cult leader who, and we had been seeing a symbol, like a coin that had been marked in such a way, popping up every once in a great while for like all these other separate missions. And then finally we get to this, boss fight, and we see this symbol on the wall, and it's painted there, and it was the overlaid image of the damage on the coins. And that was like, oh, that's where all that's been coming from. It was kind of a aha moment. And that felt really great. But then that led us to discover that this cult leader was trying to bring back, one of their gods, one of the great old ones. And that's when we're like, oh, we have to track down the rest of these guys. And, that led to the next major arc of random missions to go find these guys. Well, it wasn't so much random at that point, because now we had a direction. And I tried to emulate that in a lot of my homebrew games, where let's say the party gets to 5th level. Well, now it's time to reveal what they've been fighting against the entire time. Well, at least a sub-lieutenant. And they're going to fight, this boss fight, and they're going to get a big piece of information, a big clue as to why they've been doing all these things. And then that clue will lead them by the nose to the next major thing. And if they don't want to go that direction, they don't have to go that direction. Again, that's where I have the timeline of things that are happening in the background that the players, if they choose to interact with it, it's going to happen. If they don't, well, bad things happen. The players are typically the force of good or the force of counter to a lot of really bad things. At least that's how most of your epic stories play out. The hero with 1,000 faces, the grand epics. Things are going to happen, and it's the hero who gets involved that stops them from happening. So that's how I typically like to do it. I like to, it's not necessarily set by level; it's set by timeline of events to me. So like 3 or 4 months into the campaign world's timeline, a major thing might happen, or a few years if it's like a kingmaker type of thing. Like you've been, ruling over this area for a little while. Suddenly, plague of locusts comes along. Okay, well, where'd that plague come from? I don't know. Go find out. So that's what I kind of like how I like to string my players along the plot web as a whole. I used to be really fixed on like plot lines and keep everything on a line. And I've since found out, came to the realization, not necessarily found out, but came to the realization that I've been doing it wrong for a long time. And I admit that I was doing it wrong. Because I very much like the idea of natural discovery in a game. It gives it more of a sense of a living world that way. And to me, I think that's really important for really new players, young players, and some of the old veteran players. I think having that sense of discovery and that sense of, oh, you mean that wasn't planned? No, it wasn't planned. And just have that like, oh, that's kind of cool. So that's what I like to do.
Okay. Connell, you here? Oh,
Yeah, I'm here.
there we are. Okay, so when you start dropping that aha moment on your players, say you rewind, we're not fighting Montmorian. We are going back to Sandpoint, and the players discover Nualia, whom all of them should know. You all grew up in Sandpoint. You've all been here. You even watched her go through puberty, you three on the left side of the table, because you lived on the same block as her. And you watched her slink into depression. But when you enter that cavern where she's at, and the players see her in the light as she pulls out that rock-like arm that she has, how do your players react?
Well, unfortunately, that wasn't the 3 of the players or X amount of players. They're all from somewhere else. I asked if anybody wanted to play a local, and everybody's like, "No, I want to be for somewhere else." That's fine. I can make it work. But they ended up buying. Was it the tavern that she works at?
Mm-hmm.
They end up buying it off of her. The party ends up buying it off of her. So she disappeared. Yeah. Well, that was like within like the first like 2 books. After they took care of the goblins, they came back with the giant crown, golden crown, and they bought the bar. Okay. So she goes and disappears. So whenever she whenever she shows back up, it's always like, why is she here? ... What is she bringing to us now? And she was looking for, was it Chance? I think at the Fort of Roanoke I think this is the next time she shows up. And the party has a very, interesting sense of humor. Says, well, We haven't had to kill your brother again, so it's good seeing you. Because I think they end up having to kill him twice the way I ran it. Because Pathfinder, death is not a permanent thing; it's just a monetary setback.
For the most part, yes.
So when I'm able to throw in the surprises, it's not in so much the way the book has it laid out, just as I know what I can get my party with, like the inbreeded the orcs, or the black mama that's about ready to pop out with the next book and a half. I know where I can slide in that shock and awe at.
Did your players, when they came back to Sandpoint after they had fought the goblins and Nualia, what did they explain to the sheriff?
The goblins on the island you're talking about?
Yep. Yes, sir.
They
and
told
for those of you that just tuned in, I'm asking the Cigar DM about a campaign adventure called Burnt Offerings. It's the first piece of the Rise of the Rune Lords, which Paizo is making money hand over fist, and they have reinvented that campaign probably 5 different times before they ported it to Savage Worlds, and then then Pathfinder 2e, I believe, and now they made it for the Pathfinder card game, and now it's going on to 5e. So we're talking about a campaign that a lot of people should be familiar with. Maybe not a lot here, but a lot of people should be.
It's a solid story. I mean, it definitely has its. Is this the House on the Haunted Hill feel? Did I just walk into the backstage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Or the Hill's Got Eyes? I mean, it kind of goes everywhere, but it's a really good story.
I really liked it.
When the players got back from dealing with the goblins on the island, they explained to the sheriff that there was an owlbear, a weird-looking chick, and 2 guys that were causing the hiccup, and they don't know where the connection is, or they couldn't pick out where the connection is between plot A and plot B. Not because any of my players are dumb, it's just it wasn't that obvious. I didn't make it that obvious. What actually I always thought was funny was in the first, second, and third book, you get to meet the Baron, the Lord Foxglove.
Mm-hmm.
And right off the bat, my player's like, that's a doobie son of a bitch. He is no good. We got to get rid of him. That was game session 1. Where, thank you for saving my town from the goblins. The rest of the party just looks at him and says, he's behind this somehow. I'm like, I didn't fucking say anything. How the hell are they figuring this out already? So I got to be able...
It's almost as if it's foreshadowing.
Yeah, right. So I got, with my party, I can't do the traditional pops. I got, got to slip them up in different areas, like the floor rotting out and they fall into a bathtub full of flesh and rats. Or there's a curse in the house that makes you think there's a baby screaming, only to find out it's not a baby, and you're kind of kill yourself with its rattle. So I have to go into different places. If that answers your question.
It does. I was curious about that because I know you're running it again.
And again,
it's really a solid adventure. The reason why I always talk highly about the Rise of the Rune Lords is that the Rise of the Rune Lords has a bunch of thematic bits that, one, they jostle you with member berries, because the first adventure you fight goblins and there's a anti-paladin, and the second adventure you're going through the House on Haunted Hill, and then there's a situation at a sawmill. And I love running kids through the sawmill in a grisly manner. And then you have a situation with a what is that? Not a naga. It's a statistically for the Paizo version, the big bad evil lady at the end of the end of campaign book 2 is damn near impossible to even hit.
Yeah.
And she is a Lamia, not a noble Lamia, but she's a Lamia, and she's armored up and she's ready to rock, and she should cause half the party to die. Hey, Cam, how you doing? Book 3 is The Hills Have Eyes with a bunch of inbred ogres, and you do not want to get involved with that if you're squeamish, but that's my favorite type of player, is the one that winces at the adult bits or the PG-13 bits, and there's lots of that. Book 4 is Against the Giants. Book 5 is a tour through an abandoned wizard's college and all of the fun that entails, including a mirror of opposition trap, which I think all DMs should get good with. Yeah, there's Jade rubbing his hands together like a raccoon.
Well, I will say when we ran it, you added an actual extra book into it.
Yeah, I did. I ran the campaign book. There was a adventure in Karamaga, and you guys got a really wicked sword. One of the swords of sin.
Yes, I like that sword until they took it away from me.
It happens.
And I got turned into a bunny.
Yes, you got turned into a bunny. Bunny claws.
Yes.
Garrett.
Yeah.
You're running your campaign. Adventure number 2 or 3, when you start feeding the players with more information about the campaign you're playing, what are you trying to broaden the players on? What are you trying to embolden them with? What are you trying to push onto them so they will retain that for next game? Or what are the parts you want them to take notes about?
Well, in usually I do this with, like I said, I use, different parts of literature, characters from books, things like that. So typically if you have, if Harry Dresden walks up to you and says, "Hey, you may want to keep an eye out for this," that's going to stick in their brains because, oh my fuck, Harry just talked to me. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
I wouldn't say Harry Dresden. I'd say a character that looks suspiciously like Dirk Benedict in 1984 when he was at the peak of his popularity with the A-Team.
well, even then, regardless, you can use your NPCs that typically that aren't going to be like the mainstays there, that are going to be in and out type thing, where you can actually grab their attention, because grabbing their attention, and typically at my table, I usually have 2 or 3 that when there's interactions like that, they take notes.
Yeah,
and I've also been I have also been at the table with at least 2 people in this panel who take notes religiously. Every little thing that comes up, they take notes on.
I've noticed that, and there was a character that she was married to Randy, and she might have played a character that was always fun or fun-loving, but she was taking notes all the time. All the time. She should have played a bard. Anyway, I really liked having her in the party, but I thought she was misusing herself, because she would have been optimized as a bard. She just played like a bard would. But that's just my own personal opinions. Her and Becky got along really well, and I encourage them to have good friendships in and outside of the table.
But I mean,
go ahead.
Go
no,
ahead. I mean, basically with that is give them, and I'm going to say it again, Give them parts of the story that they're going to remember. So, you don't have to give them all the information. They can sit and get pieces from different people. But for them to actually link it all together, that when they have that aha moment, that is so great to see on their face when they go, "Oh shit." That's when you sit back as a DM and go, "Yes. Yes, now you see what I've been planning." Okay. And Kai's agreeing with me there.
Yes. Oh my
May,
God.
may I intercede on some of the comments from the chat?
Hit
No.
it.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm seeing a lot of people saying, different sci-fi settings are limited or very specific. And to be honest, any setting at all, ever, is only as limited as you want to make it. You can so Star Wars, the Star Wars role play books might only have 4 worlds. There's enough of the expanded universe out there. You can visit any of those
Expanded
worlds.
universe.
You can go to literally any of those worlds. Inner rim, outer rim, doesn't matter. You want to say Blade Runner is limited. Well, it is to an extent, but you can go off world. You can go to any one of the worlds that are being colonized by, the replicants. You want to say, aliens limited. Well, you've got the vast reaches of space, like interstellar space. You're
I
not limited to our star system.
I want to jump in really quick and
Sure.
continue. As you say, Blade Runner. Blade Runner runs. You can run Blade Runner into Aliens. It is the same universe.
It can be. You
And
can
you could also
separate it. You
say
can add them
Outland.
together.
I don't know if you guys ever saw the Sean Connery classic called Outland, but it's a Western movie set on an asteroid. Set on one of Saturn's moons. And it's kind of like this lawman comes to town and he's just trying to feel out everybody, what's going on here. And before the end of the movie, he has changed everything about their way of life on this little bitty Outland. Yeah, Outland is a great movie, I thought.
So the one where he was wearing a red outfit.
No, that is Zardoz.
Yeah,
Okay.
Zardoz.
Zardoz, he wears the mankini. And I think you should watch Zardoz because there's actually a good plot in there. You just have to put
Get
up
past
with all of the movie to get into it. There's more. You can actually get away with more in that singular film's universe than you could with Episode 4, New Hope.
So I mean, you're only as limited in any setting as you want to put the constraints in place. Every setting, no matter what it is as open and free to run in as your imagination is willing to make material for. So saying that a system or a setting is limited is you putting the constraints in place. I've actually often thought about running a altered carbon style game where you could needle cast to any world in the protectorate, like literally any world. And there could be missions there. So again, it's only the only limitations are in place are the ones you set. Anyway, go ahead, Bruce.
I was just talking about that, and Outland, Blade Runner, Alien. I think they're all three in the same universe. I think they work together pretty well in that aspect.
I know Blade Runner and Alien is the same universe. I don't know about the third one.
Well, being that Ridley Scott directed the first Blade Runner and the first Alien, I would just consider that to be part of it. And then the way Outland's theme is, and the way that Outland is set, the lighting, the hardware they use, it looks like it's part of the Aliens universe. It really does. Zamara, you want to say thank you for the mindset reinforcement on how you run games, be it wrong or right. It's your table. It's completely your table. Do not think you have to run a game to satisfy anybody on this panel or in the chat. But your table is what matters to you. You guys have to figure And that's kind of the entire thing. Oh yeah, I forgot the movie Soldier, but that's the thing that matters. Your players, if they continue coming and showing up for game, that's when you know you're running a good game, because of the wealth of options out there. They're choosing to spend their time with you.
Yeah, to kind of mirror that. Remember, it's your table, your rules. So
Yeah.
your players can adhere to your rules, or they can find another game.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to come off as kind of dickish like that, but I mean that's what it basically boils down to. Is it's your game's your rules.
And another thing on that one is just, I've been lucky enough to being able to game with my friends, but that might not always be the case. You guys, people out there might be best friends Monday through Friday, but when it comes to gaming, the way their gaming styles are so far different, they can't sit at the same table because of, I don't like the way that you're running cleric. Well, I don't like the way you're running paladin, or pick your argument. So
Just
the
be
DM
respectful about it.
Yeah, be respectful about it. But when you get to a new table or a running table, make sure that everybody there knows what you expect from them and what they can respect from you. A social contract of sorts.
A social
And
con. We're gonna do
Yeah.
a con. You got no social contract.
In these earlier games teaches that. It teaches behavior that, I've not always been the best player, especially to other people around the table. If you don't believe me, there's a video out there.
Yes, there is.
But
Several.
No, just one.
Not one that you know of.
Oh.
There's several.
Well, to be fair, that guy's an idiot. Anywho, but lower level games, it being Pathfinder, it being whatever system, make sure everybody at the table knows what they're getting into, or you'll have a headache later on.
Set the expectation early.
Yeah. Jade won't let me play a gunslinger in Wrath of the Righteous because, it was a wrong part of the world. Okay.
Absolutely. I also wouldn't let anyone play Hellspawn of any kind, or any type of character that would be easily influenced by evil. Like, I threw all those classes out because the starting city is a city of paladins.
So
see, I would have actually said that the gunslingers would be okay because they come from the Whirlwind.
No, they don't come from the Whirlwind. They come from the Mana Wastes.
Yeah, but the major spot where they're located and found is around.
They're 1,000 miles apart.
Yes, so they don't travel. Will travel.
Have gun will travel, but
I made that argument.
Okay, I'm gonna say my piece on this. In the world of Galarian, you have the Mana Wastes and you have the Whirlwind, and they're 1,000 miles apart. And the reason why you won't see guns traveling too far from the Mana Wastes is because every person who can wield a firearm in that war, they're not going to just let those firearms walk away from the battlefield. They need every person capable of handling a firearm and every firearm at the front lines at all times, because it's an active war zone. So you're not going to see people too often, per se, walking away with their weapons. Based on what's happening at the Mana Wastes, it's just not going to happen. At least, a person who does walk away, they probably killed their commander to walk away. Like, that's the scenario that's happening at the Mana Wastes.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I had a dream.
That's my piece on Galarian and the
I had
mess
a
of the Mana
dream,
Wastes.
and my God told me I need to come here and bring my gun. Okay.
Kai.
So.
Kai, I know you were thinking about sheep there. Lifting off. My bad. We're past 9 o'clock, so I gotta ask you, whenever you're running and you're setting up your first real challenges for the party, how do you build that up?
Usually, I just kind of slowly ambush them with it. I mean, let's be honest. It's one of those. Well, you're you're wandering through some little old ruins, and then you find like, oh, we're having a nice simple adventure. It's baby's first dungeon. Oh, a few simple traps, some kobolds, a little bit of this and that. Just a few hints at things because players are like, because they don't know because it's the start of the campaign. You don't know what's coming because this is a fresh part of the world, or it's a fresh campaign setting or something like that. You're like, oh, you find a few bits of ancient relics or something, some stray bit of Roman gear or some other thing, and then you encounter a room that's full of corpses, and you're like, oh, this is not long, just skeletons, piles of them, and you're like, this has suddenly gotten odd. And if you have an investigative player who goes, I look at the corpses, well, not you recognize most of them. Most of them are human or demi-human, or you can figure out what race most of them were. Right, cleric? Right, person who took medicine? Yeah, yeah. But there's a few you don't recognize. Oh, now you've kind of upped it. Now it's kind of going, something creepy's happening down here. And you're like, yeah. And hopefully you clued them in. Now they're paying attention. And now they go down and it's like, now the weird things start to happen. Now it's like, wait, now we're in a room where I can't see the bottom of the pits? Yeah. How deep is it? I don't know. Do you want to jump? Then you look at that one player who goes, yes, you're dead. Congratulations. You're gone. Oh. And it's always that, because it's always that one player who's like, flame won't kill me. I'm just going to jump. Whee! You're dead. What? There's no bottom. The sound of your death, nobody will ever hear it. Oh. Go ahead, make a new character. Oh, and that's when they go, now we're in a big giant chamber, and there's some weird relics on the other end of the thing. What do you do? Of course, you have that one player, the other player. I'm curious. I'm going to go play with the ancient magical runes. I'm an arcane wizardy spellcaster type person. Woo! I'm going to work with this set. Now the actual villain comes out, thanks him for being freed, or you get to show him, and there's this slow motion moment where like, oh, we did something really bad. Do you get out of the room before the time stop spell that's been holding them in place wears off? Do we talk to it? You'll be thanked by the ultimate evil who just got released. Is he really the ultimate evil? He's probably way higher level than you, but for you, it's the ultimate evil. Oh no! And so you just walk him into, well, the end of baby's first adventure ends up being now the real villain, and it appears, and this is the guy you're going to have to fight for the next 5, 6, 7 levels. And you leave a few hints behind as the party goes, oh, we barely survived that, didn't we? Yeah, you barely survived. He might have even let you live. Oh, that was a terrible moment. Now, what are you going to do? But you have some documents, some books, some ruins. You can check the machine the ancient artifact, the arcane circles that were keeping it, the ultimate evil bound. How do you handle that? And watch the players go, we're no longer having fun as low-level characters anymore. No, you just found out there's something, the world is far bigger, and it will eat you. How do you handle that? And most players, by being heroes, good. Now go be heroes. Go save the world. And then you always have that one player. By hiding, go away. You're no longer interesting. Make a new character. Why? Because you're not engaging. You're hiding in a hole. Oh, no, don't make a new character. The party's going to drag you around by in the little like red wagon. And of course it's a Stargate, or ancient artifacts, or some ancient death god that's been locked in a box. Or if you go the Tenchi Moyu route, the ancient demon who's been locked in a cave for the last 1,000 years, or it's something terrible that somebody put a, this will hold them for 1,000 years. It's been 999 years. Congratulations, the prophecy has now been fixed. Or, you just have some fun, and you just ambush them with it, and it's great. Or they just find that, hey, this is really cool, and now you're being chased by Nazis. Why? Because they need that. By fake fantasy Nazis, and they need the artifact to that you now hold. Well, we give the artifact to who? Who can you trust? A bunch of paladins? The paladins aren't going to hold on to it. They're not going to really. Sure, hand off the thing, and now you have a whole campaign, and you can play off of it. But you just have to ambush them with whatever you want them to be chasing for the next 5 levels.
Well,
in a museum.
well, depends on the artifact.
Right.
This might not actually need to be there. It all kind of solves itself out in the end, anyways.
Right. The thing is, I'm not worried about that part. I'm just worried about I've given you a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Do something with the MacGuffin, and the players. Oh, what do we do with this? I don't know. What do you do with it? And now I sit back and watch them all freak out because, oh shoot, you're right. Pull Last Crusade in. We go to the police, and the police say, well, you stole it from the actual guys who owned it. Hand it over. Bullshit. And now they get to go. You just stole from us. I know.
All right.
Oh. But now
The last thing I wanted to showcase tonight, we had a off-camera moment with our friend Blaine earlier, and I want to recreate it.
Oh,
Blaine, I want you to pay for this. I want you to pay for this Hero Labs or this DM's Guild subscription. I want you to pay for it. I want you to have to pay. You've already bought the book. You've already paid $70 for a hardcover and a starting adventure module, but damn it, you haven't paid enough. You need to go and you need to pray to the altar of creativity and useful shit. I want you to advertise the reason why maybe Pathfinder 2nd Edition has a redeeming quality to it.
Because if you are so mathematically and creatively brain dead that you can't actually function without having a computer program to tell you how to do everything. But don't worry, you can't have a free code that comes with your book so you can input it into the program. No, you need to go pay WotC for permission to use your book. You need to pay some retards at Hero Labs more money so they can let you use your book with the computer program. So that way you and your fellow GMs, your GM who goes, I don't trust anybody of you because none of you know how to actually do basic fucking math or knows how to read because, fuck you. Gamers are all retards. You guys can't do math. I don't trust you. And I don't want to audit you because that's too much work. So I need you to pay some company to be able to use a program. And I need you to then pay for that book that you've already paid, which is a substantial amount of money. And so keep paying and pay WotC a subscription fee to use it. Pay Hero Labs money to be able to use your own fucking book over and over again because, well, that's how everybody does it because everyone's got a bigger wallet than they have brain cells. But God, just fork your fucking cash over to WotC because they haven't got enough from you. But meanwhile, over here in this glorious area where Paizo's like, it's free, just fucking use it. They have this program. They have programs that have every book for free, all the information and materials to build whatever you want for free. We put out a new book, wait 3 weeks. The book is now available. All the material, enjoy. And you've paid absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, here's your grubby little money fuckers over here at WotC going, we haven't got enough money yet. Give us more money. The Ferengi are sitting here going, pay us to get to play our own game. We're all greedy. And the GMs who are like, I run online, so I need you to be able to use this program. So use it. Meanwhile, I've got friends who they've already bought all this shit, and they just give me their ability to log into said program. So that'll be okay because my friends are complete and total retards, so I benefit from it. So because they've already shelled out too much money. Meanwhile, I'm going, you could always read the book. You could always buy a $3 goddamn notebook and do basic math. No, I need to be able to pre-plot everything and then have, but what if they add a custom magic item? I don't know how to do custom magic items. That takes time, and now I gotta work with the program, and that also requires a higher subscription fee. Fuck off. Fuck all of these people who need this shit. Just enjoy. God, a program should not require you to buy it and then keep buying it just so that way you can use the book you've already paid for. It's dumb and odd. God, and anyone who uses Hero Labs is fucking retarded. I'm sorry, you are short bus retarded because you need a program to fucking do basic shit. I understand if a GM is using it to make 100 NPCs because, well, I need to make an NPC at a truck stop for the next adventure I'm running. But for players, just a notebook. But no, somehow these con men have all convinced all of you that you need to shell out money for a license and then money to use what you've already paid for. God, why are you all fucking retarded? But hey, you know what? I guess, fuck it. It's just fucking play money anymore. You might as well just throw it at these people. Go ahead. And I'm done.
You hear there?
Yes.
And then they come in and steal your book, so you have to buy them again because your subscription ran out.
No, you see that over there? No. Fuck it. High seas of piracy going on here, motherfuckers. If I gotta buy it a second time, it is getting fucking. I'm gonna find it. And WotC ain't getting a goddamn dime. If I gotta buy anything the second time, no, I've already bought it once. But don't you need to have a physical copy? No, because I can read. I can use a tablet. I know how to use a search function. So many books in a little magic device that fits in my hand. I don't have to break my back, but I want to have a vast library in my back so that way when I got my nerd cred wall, I can show off my nerd cred wall and look at all the shit I have. And
I feel attacked now.
Yeah, well, no. I feel attacked for a friend of ours who's not in chat right now, but I feel severely attacked for him.
And here's the important thing. Look at this. I have an original copy of, first edition Bullshittery. And it's in great masterful condition. And you can look at it, but don't you dare fucking touch it. Meanwhile, I'm going, it's a gaming book. Open it. No, you might break the binding. And pages you might smudge it. You might have some Cheeto shit on your hands. You can't touch this. These are the gaming books. They're precious and sacred.
Someone's got some music going.
It's a Pirate of the Caribbean theme. Why his?
Yeah, but that's still not cool.
But the thing is that I understand that, but I don't need it. Yes, that's not my nerd cred wall. That's my history research wall. Bookshelf. I don't need to have my gaming books out there. Why? Because all my game books are all fucking beaten to shit. Why? Because they're used by me and the players. The bindings have come loose. everything. Why? Because players should use your books. That's what they're there for. They're not there to be a pretty color-coded thing that you just go, well, I don't want to touch it because that's still a pristine book that was printed in 1986. And have you read it? No. Well, I looked through it a couple times. I leafed through it. Have you used it? No. I don't want these to get damaged and look bad. They won't be in pristine condition. Fuck you. They're meant to be used.
Yeah, at least have some wear on the sides of the binding and the cover.
I mean, I got a question for you really quick, Kai, talking about books. How do you feel about the 3.5 books that came out with leather binding and silver leaf trim?
You know what? Those people have more money than brains. I look
And
at
he's got a copy of them sitting on his thing back behind him. Don't let him lie. Don't let him lie to you.
I don't care. But you know what? It's like, do you use those books for gaming? Or
Yes.
are they just collectors? Then you're okay. But,
Well, for 3.5, no one's using them anymore.
but I had people who bought the first edition, like Legend of the Five Rings clan books in in leather bound in dust cases. I'm like, are you ever going to use those for gaming? No. Then why? Why did you spend that kind of money? Because I have lots of money and I want a cool collector's item. It looks cool on my shelf.
I mean, I really can't say anything about collector's items. I don't do books.
No,
I
you
have
fig.
figs. I have figs. I have I have a lot of dragon figs. I have a lot of Dungeons & Dragons / Pathfinder figs. Not as much as Bruce.
But I like physical books too. But I buy my books to be used. I buy books to read. I buy books to write notes in and go, this is what I think. This is a reference page to another book, to another page that I know when I'm reading through it. My books are never meant for resale. They're never meant for give to anybody else. They're meant for me to use. And I hand them to players, and players go, what's all these notes written in the margins? Because they're my reference material. I know what to do with this stuff. I like my books, but I buy them to be abused because I'm going to use them. And if anybody goes, can I have that book? Yeah, you can. But it's not going to be in pristine condition because books have knowledge. Knowledge should be used. God damn it. God.
You mean you just don't put it into a nice glass case and just go ooh and ah about it?
No, because at that point you haven't done anything with it. I don't care. But it's like I will walk in and go, ooh, that's a pretty good collection too. I know, but I'll ooh and ah over it too and go, wow. And then I'll move on with my life because I don't harp on, I don't hang myself on it. It's not the most critical things in the universe because I understand. But the thing is, I like my PDFs only because of the simple fact that I'm not breaking my back as a GM to reference 50 different books at once. I don't like the fact that I used to have to carry a fucking gym bag to carry half my books. And then I had another gym bag to carry the other half my books. And when you have to pick them up and you realize that you're carrying over 100-something pounds of shit on your shoulders, I don't want to have to get out an A-frame hiking backpack to GM a game. That's not fun.
Yeah, we won't talk about my huge Mazul bag that I used to carry
All my
3.5 books in and out of the game room back in the day.
Was it 3.5?
Watching certain people that we knew come in with roller tubs, like rolling suitcases. Like, I'm going to go run me some Dungeons and Dragons 33.5, and then they come and then they ask you, could you come out to my truck and help pull out the luggage and then drive it in? And you're like, how much crap do you have? Like three rollers, 3 suitcases full. Oh my God.
Thankfully, we live in the age of the internet because, a lot of that stuff is now on SRDs. You can find like all of Paizo first edition stuff and, some of the third-party stuff all on the SRD. You can do the same thing with 5e. There's a huge SRD community out there that's putting all of that stuff out, even homebrewed stuff out. for people to just use.
Yeah, and the thing is that knowing that I can now I can pull off my phones, like someone's like, hey, what was that one rule that came out of West End Games? Go pull up the PDF of that exact book and go, here you go, here's the book. Hey, what was that thing that came out of World of Warcraft, the RPG? Here's the book, here's the page, here's the rules. You like that? Cool. Hey, Weird Wars. Does anyone have the Pacific source book? Here you go. Hey, I want to run heavy gear. What was that one mech from the south? Which one? Did it come out of book 1 or 2? 2. Here you go. And all of this is stored on my phone, and it's magical. And I'm not going, well, that's my book. It's at home. I'm sorry, I don't have I don't have TRO 3055 memorized, but I can fake up some numbers, or I can just pull up all of my BattleTech shit.
Well, I don't know about BattleTech. I think next Tuesday we're getting into that in my my weekly game in Washington. Either that or we're still doing Babylon 5. I don't quite know as of yet, but that's besides the point. I kind of, there's almost a rite of passage, though, having to lug 7 or 8 books to a gaming table.
7 to 8?
Yes,
Wow.
your
You are
chiropractor will
That's
love
a
you for
light
that.
load.
Man,
I'm thinking,
That's a light remembrance.
you
You should go to heavy.
Okay,
you were
now
working
I
with
am going to say, do you not remember the Mazul backpack that
Yes.
was
I
like
remember.
6 foot,
I did.
6 foot tall, that I had all the 3.5 books in, that I was walking, like this, so I would not fall over because of the weight that was on my back.
Yeah. I'm
I
sorry.
did it too. I understand. When I was working at the game shop, I provided all the books that we needed for said campaign. I get it.
I don't want to walk in with a full combat load of 100 pounds of crap on my back anymore. No,
Is it because we're getting older? I'm not saying it's a rite of passage. This is the shit.
No,
Right
I
of
can,
passage,
I can
no.
literally, we
A
can
book
literally
back
hold
is-
thousands of pounds of paper on this alone. Like, we can hold so
Heretic.
many books on this.
Heretic.
But I don't want my players to be sitting at the table. Ooh, what are you looking at? Oh, I'm looking at page 13 of whatever book on how I could fuck over your game. Is that really what you're looking at? No, I'm looking at Pornhub. Where if they crack open a book, at least you know what they're looking at.
At least be looking at the Strippers Guild information. I mean, geez.
Right.
Fuck.
Right. Hey, look, I understand. So, some people want to, want the Pope of Swole, at the table, and that one guy who, comes in with 100 pounds of books on each arm. He's like, "This is just the first trip." Boom, and watch the floor buckle and tiles shit because they dropped their gaming book.
Concrete foundation cracks.
I know. And like, excuse me, I'm now. Oof.
I
I'm
think
gonna
Bruce's
go out.
apartment. I think the floor in Bruce's apartment cracked a couple times when I dropped those in his apartment.
Yeah.
And then and the player goes back out there and goes like, "I'm out. I'm going back out there for my dice." Hey yo,
And then bring in like 10-pound bag of dice.
I didn't do the backpack. I did milk crates.
I did the sea bag. I had a sea bag for my time in active duty, and I used that thing so many times.
I mean,
Hold
was it
so much.
hiking.
Yeah, up until Emma, I had 2 sea bags for gaming, and then when she left, she took my fucking sea bags. I'm still a little salty about 2009, but I've got to say that the last thing I want to talk about. I thank you, Kai. I will give you a cookie. I'll give you something you probably want on that. You need to drop your birthday to me in the private chat though, and
Okay.
when your forwarding address, because I know you're moving soon. I need to. There's a discussion that's out there right now that I think us seasoned individuals should discuss, and that's Paizo. Recently came out that they're going to be porting some of their better known adventure paths for 5th edition D&D. And I think this deserves a little bit of discussion from us 5 because we've been around. Some of us have played Paizo products since 2007. since 2004
Yeah.
because they were magazine subscribers, or they bought the full retail price magazine at their local FLGS. Jade, you want to start us off on your discussion?
Yeah, so Paizo is coming out with a book called The Vaults, the Abomination Vault, and it is rehashing a lot of their content for 5th edition. Now, this is actually nothing new for them. Like, they are publishing for 5th edition, sure, that's new. But what's not new is Paizo publishing for the oldest tabletop role-playing game around. They've been doing it since 3.0, 3.5 days, with the magazines. So it's not new for that. A lot of people are going to give them hell or give them grief for it, but you know what? Don't, because it's their MO. It's what they've been doing. They see a cash cow and they're going to milk it. They did it for 3.5, and then when 4.0 came out, everyone's like, it was not well received by, the general public of gamers. And then, Paizo's, still looking at 3.5, and they looked at 4E, and then looked back at 3.5, players still want to play 3.5. What if we just tweak a few things here and there, skim some of the crap out of it that doesn't need to be there, and just republish for 3.5, but call it Pathfinder? And it made really big waves. People are like, yeah, we're gonna go back to 3.5. We're gonna go back to playing what we already know, because they don't have to learn something new. They don't have to spend money on WotC product going to a completely different direction on how to play the game. They can pick up where they left off with the previous game and the previous engine. So that's for Paizo to go, hey, we did it with 3.5. We're now going to do it with 5e. Why? Because we have content that people will like to play, and it's the money's there, and people will buy our products if it's for 5e. It's not to say that 2e failed. There are a lot of players playing 2e. It is a fairly easy system to jump into. It's just as easy to jump into as 5e. But the larger number of players and the larger attraction of players is to D&D 5e. There's no doubt about it. The chips are in. Call it as I see it. 5e is a much bigger game because of advertising, because it came out before 2e, because it is the oldest role-playing game out there. It's got so much traction and so much visibility. TableBreakers, Matt Mercer's show, it has so much visibility that why not publish for it? It just makes fiscal and financial sense to publish for it. So that's what I've got to say. Don't hate them for it. You have to, as a business, you have to go where the money's at, and the money's at D&D 5e right now.
Connell, got a question. You
Got
want
it.
to dovetail on anything that he said, on anything that Jay just said about what Paizo's doing?
Not so much. I agree with what he had to say. I mean, from a financial point of view, it makes a great deal of sense. I think it's interesting. I'm not mad about it. I think Paizo produced a lot of great stories from mods. We've talked about Rise of Runelord on this channel. We've talked about Wrath of the Righteous here. And there are X amount of other modules out there that are really well written. Pathfinder did not do a bad job when it comes to storytelling. They did have their faults in a few other areas, but storytelling was not one of them. Unless you add mythic to it, then it becomes a shit show. So if they're willing to take Rise of Runelord, Curse of the Crimson Throne, Kingmaker, Reign of Winter, and the other ones, and say, we're going to take these, and because if you notice, only 2 of them got an anniversary edition. That's Rise of Runelord and I think Curse of Crimson Sun. The only 2 I believe they have an anniversary. So
Well,
if you
the
take
reason why they did Curse of the Crimson Throne was because that was one of the more popular adventure paths they released, and it was only for 3.5 available at the time. So you had that, you had Rise of the Rune Lords, you had Second Darkness, which we shan't recall, and then we had Legacy of Fire, which is a really good Arabian Nights style campaign. If you want a Arabian Nights style railroad, really good. But they released Curse of the Crimson Throne because they were curious about what the sales numbers would be for a 3.5 game. They had a lot of people in chat saying this is the best you've done. This is the best you've done. Meanwhile, there's a sizable chunk of people that said, "Have you played Kingmaker?" And that's the fight in the Paizo forums that was very popular. But go ahead.
So if they're willing to take the time and put this into 5e because 5e right now is the 800-pound gorilla that everybody talks about, which I'm not saying they do bad mods. I'm just saying the stories they're retelling old stories. Where with at least Pathfinder, these will be new stories to some people who did not ever play Pathfinder. And as a DM, I'd be more than willing to run any of the mods that they transfer over. I think my players would have fun with it. Everybody at my table right now, except for maybe one person, knows the world of Pathfinder. Everybody is 5e people. So it's putting meat back on the table, gaming-wise.
Okay. Garrett? Do you have anything to add about Paizo throwing in their own campaign into the 5e engine? I know you've played 5e a bit more than I have.
It was inevitable. It was like Thanos, inevitable, because of the simple fact of they're going to chase the money. And they have been chasing the 800-pound gorilla since day one when they started doing everything. So the other thing is, and I'm going to share my screen for this. Give me a minute. Come on, what are you doing? There it is. This is the other thing here. I've got it sitting down there, Bruce. If you want to kick it up for me,
Add to stream.
that's okay. Is this right here? They're having plans for a D&D television show. So this right here, and this has been out for a couple months, or about a little over a month and a half. This is what's pushing them in because Paizo wants to get their stories in there so it can translate over to this. Because if they can get their stories transferred over and they start using some of their adventure paths, that's going to bring more people to them for their money. And like I said, they are going to follow the money. And yeah.
I didn't even know about this. This is something that Shadbar was trying to get my attention on, and I hadn't had a chance to read through it yet. It's a Polygon article, which means I need my Lanta before I start to read it.
True. Well, that was just I've known about it, and I Googled it, and that was the first one that popped up, so that's what I used. But still, that they're going to be, they're going to. I hate to say it, if Paizo is doing it's going to be a little bit better. I hate to say this because looking at the way that they run the modules that 5e has put out, those have been shit. Just a purely cow pie on the side of the road is what it is. So it could also be that you know, I'm going to use the parent company. Hasbro reached out to Paizo going, hey, we know you guys used to do this for 3.5. It kind of helped with us. Do you think you may want to just update a few of these just to give a little bit of stuff to maybe pull those people who are completely against going to 3.5, going in and playing fifth ed? Because I'm sorry, that's what it's boiling down to. They're trying to bring in that 3.0 crowd that has said, you know what, screw you and your fourth ed. Oh, you're bringing out fifth ed. Oh, look, it sucks, and we're not going to play it. And that, I think that it could be more of a two-way street of that they were asked to start doing this. I don't think that Paizo really wanted to do it. I think more, and of course, I have no proof of this. So this is just my conspiracy theory mind, which tends to be right. But I'm pretty sure they were asked to do it, and that's all I got to say about that.
I'm looking at it as Paizo is following the money. They're thinking that they can navigate through this rough time because Paizo Second Edition has not garnered the audience, and it's partially to blame on guys like me because whenever Alpha came out, I read through it, and I went back to page 6 of the Alpha where they forced you to make your table a safe space for people. When, God damn it, when I played D&D back in the 90s. My table was where you'd had transvestites, the lesbians or the local gays, and your nerds all kind of conglomerate together. Like it was just this pile of quote unquote undesirables. And you would be happy for it because you'd have this guy, Bobby, who he was gayer than a $3 bill away from the table. But at the table, he was a fucking two-handed sword swinging goblin slaying MF. And he was going to help you get through a 4-hour session. Or you had Tammy, the carpet munching lesbian, as she proudly put it, and she was going to play this flowery, womanly princess, nobility type lady that she would never be in real life. But she was exploring things that she would never do. And people would fucking be happy about that. And nobody ever thought that we would be forced to like, hey, this has got to be a safe space. Well, I can't have the edgy gay guy or lesbian guy. I can't have the fucking anti-fucking social veteran there at the table. This is, what Paizo did in that alpha test book was shove away half the audience. They said, we don't want you. And it really pissed me off. And I made a statement about it. There were others that did the same thing. I have a very small audience, and I'm okay with that. Because if that means that I have a core audience that can understand and wrap their head around it, that's great. I don't need to have millions of individuals following me. Thank God. I look at what Paizo is doing now, and if they want to follow this money trail and they're trying to get into the 5e market, good. If that's going to get them their money, good. And they've already gone through a lot of bullshit anyway. They've already gone through the union bullshit. They've gone through the we don't want to work at your offices that are never curated or cleaned. It's just a bunch of drama thanks to a lot of people that used to have Paizo in their Twitter tags. And for crying out loud, I don't want to read about them. They've self-curated just as much as I have. And it's, whenever you do that, no matter what happens, it's your responsibility and you must accept what happens. Paizo going for the 5e market now? Well, maybe they'll get that money. I don't know. And the people that I talk to aren't playing 5e the majority of time. Connell's the only one that does. He's it. He's the only individual I know that plays 5e on a regular basis. Everybody else now is playing Index Card RPG, DCC, Mutant Crawl Classics, older editions of D&D. You got Shadowrun. Well, yeah, Kai does too, but Kai doesn't talk about D&D 5e. Kai talks about, I want to run Shadowrun. Kai talks about, I want to run a game where people are scared shitless of combat. That's not Dungeons and Dragons. That's real life with a paper and die. Yes, Twilight 2000. So if Paizo wants to follow that money, please go for it. I'm not gonna give them money. Grave Slug says, imagine a bizarro world where D&D went super underground and the rules are only printed on 12-inch records, bootleg tapes you have to take notes off of. And bravo. And Shauner asks, who will write the better gay source books, Paizo or Hasbro? Well, look out. Disney wants in that. If you got a piece of that gay pie going on, Disney wants so badly in this. Burbank is begging to be part of the narrative. Anyway, that's my stand.
We'll talk about that after the stream.
I do have one conspiracy theory on why Paizo might be doing this jump now. Is because I know it's not. This is mine. This is my tinfoil hat. No, I have no evidence for it. But just take a look at when did Paizo jump on this? It was like 3.5 went to 4. Everyone was angry. Right now, you have a lot of trepidation in the community right now. Of there's an incoming edition that hasn't been fully announced, but we all know it. It's kind of like looking at the horizon and feeling the barometer drop. You can see the clouds. You're like, is it going to be a 5.5? Is it going to be a 6? And everyone's kind of like, so you feel it's changing, but you don't know. So here comes Paizo going, hey, everybody, look at us. We're right here. And look at this. Look at the quality of adventures that you can have that you're not getting from Strixhaven, that you're not getting from our new books, that you're not getting from the new books from WotC. Look at what the new classes options that we're adding that are way better than what you're getting out of the WotC material. Feel this, so that way when WotC inevitably barrels straight forward like a fucking hurricane off a cliff again and lights its own group on fire, here's Paizo to once again collect everybody and drag them right into Pathfinder 2 because it's already there. It's been cleaned up. It works. And it's close enough to 5 that we no transit, there's be little pain and suffering. So I think it's really them just strategically putting themselves in place to just start scooping up all the angry people who don't want to stick around with WotC anymore and repeat Pathfinder 1 all over again while WotC lights itself on fire with their 6th edition. That's my theory.
I'm okay with that.
I have absolutely no proof of this, but having watched history and WotC gleefully shooting themselves in the head repeatedly and being the beast that won't die. And
those who fail to learn history are doomed to repeat it.
History does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. But the thing here is, the thing is, Hasbro might not be too tolerant of their pet WotC fucking up a second time with a 6th edition. So if the game dies, Paizo's sitting here going, we're already in the right position. It could just be 4D chess going on here. That's what I'm hoping.
Their 2nd edition launched on a weak, wobbly foot.
It did.
And worse yet, they haven't done anything to grab the community that embraced them. They really haven't. I know only 2 players that will gleefully go to Pathfinder 2e. I don't know anybody else.
I got converted. That's all. But that was because somebody spent the money and went, "Hey, try this," and suddenly we all went, "Oh, this isn't as shit as we thought it was." But it took time to iron out all the crap. It's taken a few years to make the game actually close to what it used to be, and I'm okay with this. I'm okay with where it's gone. I'm sad that it's not gone. It's not gotten better. But I really think they're in the right position to go. We're ready to catch the dumpster fire that when it gets lit. That's all.
The other part, I just want to say this real quick. Paizo had a playtest come out right at the same time they released their hardcover alpha playbook, which is a waste of money, and I'll never again buy an alpha playbook, an alpha playtest ever. I'll never do it.
Yep.
But because there's nothing in there that pertains to what the game is now, especially now. But they had a playtest book called the Doomsday Clock, and it was an adventure where you created characters for various levels. Like you did 6 or 7 characters and at differing levels. Well, the fourth one, I believe it was the number 4, was like level 12, and it was a fight against a unstoppable force. And the DM was encouraged to log what round it was that the TPK happened. And there's no other way for it to happen but a TPK. And they don't really brief you at the start of that adventure when you read it, but when you read through it, you're like, there's a very slim chance they can make this work. But the player dies, the players die. No matter what, I've never read a successful adventure report from Adventure 4 for the Doomsday Clock. And so when people were in the playtest for that, you had a bunch of people that were involved with it that were really happy about it. I did mine a month later, and when I read it and I ran it, I had the same result as everybody else. And I can see why the entire inertia just went, because nobody wanted to do Adventure 5. Even though the character is right there. You've already rolled it up. You've already done this character according to plan. You've got it ready to go. But the player base was just like, I don't want to play through this campaign. I've already died once. And
Yeah, that would kill it.
that was part of the problem. And then Rob Bulleman, ever slick PR guy, which he needs to fire himself from being in PR. Never show his face ever again. Ever. He needs to just hire somebody slick, somebody nice. Maybe Jessica Price. I hear she has a charisma of 2. But they need to have somebody with a better ability to relate to individuals and say, listen, this adventure will be a TPK. We just need to know how the characters will hold up in combat against a mob of individuals. Have fun. And do your best. Give your players chocolate before this adventure starts, and give it to them afterwards too. Because no matter what, you're going to have some very angry people, and we hope you play Adventure 5. But they didn't do that. He came out after the test was over 4 or 6 months later, and he's like, yeah, we kind of knew this was going to happen, but we wanted to see how resilient the player base would make it and if the things would work out. If Pathfinder 2 has changed a lot, that's great. Because
what I was going
for my
sorry.
experience.
If I could find a DM around where I live, it would be willing to run Pathfinder second edition. I'd honestly sit down. Well, I don't know. Kai's busy being responsible and moving.
Hey, Connell, it's free. You don't have to wait for somebody else to run it for you. You can just read it yourself on your own. You don't have to buy it.
I get where you're coming from. Sorry, Kai.
Having someone there to make it more interesting than just the dry text research, and then hoping, because all games really are make and break, because a bad GM can ruin a great game.
Yes.
And a good GM can make a shit game playable.
A great GM can make Doctor Who the RPG playable.
No.
I've yet to find one of those.
I think that we should probably call it for the night. We're at hour 2:38, and I really want to thank my entire chat for being here. Some of you guys have dropped off, and if you come back and watch it, that's great. Thank you very much. You didn't have to. For those of you that stuck around throughout the entire thing, I want to say thank you for doing that. Jade, Shadow and Sun, Sci-Fi is Life. You guys, we really appreciate it, because we do try to bounce ideas off you and relate the ideas that are in chat and throw them in the general consensus over here in the panel. Yeah, Doctor Who is the worst RPG I've ever read. I forget the creator of it, but you had to read it and research it for 8 hours to run 1 hour of game time.
Yes.
The Cube. Wait, Cube 7.
You had to get into the book for 8 hours. You had to read for 8 hours and figure out what you wanted for you to have 1 hour of table time. That's not a good ratio.
No,
You could usually do
I mean-
1 hour of prep for D&D for any edition for 4 to 6 hours of game. Anyway, want to thank you guys for showing up in the chat. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a show. Cigar DM, you just had your first stream last night on Gatekeepers. I want to congratulate you on that. Thank you. Also, Shadow and Sun, we are sending you a direct. We're trying to get in touch with you for the Gatekeepers Discord, because I think you'd make an excellent. You and your son would make an excellent pair of voices for that.
Definitely.
Cigar DM, what are you doing as far as your upcoming games?
Upcoming games. My games are mainly, well, I got yours either this Saturday or next Saturday. I'm trying to.
Saturday's my game.
This coming Saturday. Then Tuesday, I have this guy who is a new DM that me and my friend Kevin are trying to, or aka Finn, are trying to show him the ropes of DMing. He's DMing for the first time, and he's doing 5e because 5e is easy to DM. You know, I'm not going to hold that against him. Then this Sunday, if I don't end up with my daughter again, which I'm not going to complain about that, I will have a video out about how, as a new DM, define your voice, how to for DMing. I mean, what kind of voice are you looking for? Theme, and that's going to be my next video if I can ever get it done. And that's it, really. That's what my life looks like right now.
True.
Cool. Aaron G. Rock, I know you've been going through some things, training at your job. Are you doing any new streams in the coming week?
I'm hoping to get a couple of 10 things videos up. You know, I am very humbled at this point because I must have caught the algorithm somehow, but I am only just a few away from 700 subs.
Damn.
Which I just legit looked at that and I'm just sitting here just shaking my head going, what the hell? What the hell? You know, like the TikTok. What the hell? But you know, I am truthfully, you know, I am very humbled that folks are enjoying the content and you know are subscribing. Like I said, I'm going to have a couple of 10 things in 2 weeks from yesterday. I'm going to be, because I'll be done with fucking training. So I'm going to be hosting Gatekeepers. And so definitely make sure that you do get you know, I did throw the links in there for everybody, for myself, for Kai, for the Scar GM. As soon as Jade gets his artwork done that he's been taking, like he's going to spend at least 80 hours on before he actually gets it done, because we've been seeing bits and pieces of it in our little Discord.
I'll show it for everyone. Just give me
Oh
a
Lord.
second.
Hit share screen.
Yeah, as soon as I get
But-
up to it.
But as soon as he has his up and running, we will be shilling his channel out to everybody also. I'm waiting on him.
Here we go.
Bruce has to push a button.
I'm gonna preface this. I am not a digital artist in the slightest. It's taking me quite a bit of time to get through this. Again, this is just using Paint.net, free software. I'm in no way a digital artist.
Okay.
So
As soon as Bruce hits the button.
I'm waiting for it to appear in my chat or appear the panel. I'm not seeing it.
You have to choose screen, and then you have to choose which screen you want to show, Jade.
there you go.
That looks kind of Daggerfallish. I got a mid '90s chub there. That's pretty looking good, man. I've got to say that's really nice.
I appreciate that.
I approve. In order to stop that, you just stop sharing your screen there.
Yep.
There you go. We will. There are some boomer moments for those in the chat, and want you to know that. Kai, I know you got to get going here in a second, so if you want to give your exit, any words of wisdom for our chat and panel.
I've got none. I'm sorry. I rented out, and I've
Dude.
got none. I know.
Well, once I tell you what, once a week with you is not enough. We really enjoy having you on.
Unfortunately, I'm always busy on every other night possible. So, I mean, right now I'm prepared. Like, I'm doing prep work for 2 other campaigns, so I don't have a lot of free time on top of everything else. So, no, I'm sorry.
Fair enough. That leaves you, Jade. What's going on, man?
So I am working on the channel art. Again, not a digital artist. It's going to take me some time. I'm already starting to record videos. I've got my intro kind of recorded. It needs some editing, or just needs me to redo it. I've got the first 3 or 4 episodes or videos kind of planned. I'd like to get at least 8 episodes fully planned and plotted out before I start uploading, so I can upload consistently and always have, be working on the next thing while videos are coming out. Because if I don't, I know me, I'm going to get lazy. I like my weekends.
On my channel, I'll be running the game on Saturday, and that's mainly the only thing I have that I want to advertise. If you guys want to stop by here after about 12:30 Central Standard Time or 12:30 military time, same thing. We'll be playing our game. Con will be part of that, along with my other hapless players that are trying to survive an invasion, and would appreciate that. Everybody in the chat, no matter what you may hear, your thoughts are your own. They're your sovereign thoughts. You do not have to follow anybody's lead. You do have consequences for your actions. So I want you to be careful, and I want you to be safe. And I want to see you back here next Thursday night. We will be joining Legion of Myth tomorrow night for the chill stream. And I do thank everybody for their time tonight. It has been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night.